Sorry, we're running a little bit late, a lot of sidebars. Brent, thank you for being here. Good morning. Welcome, everybody, to today's meeting, July the 25th. We have one case, case number Z24-012, and we're going to start with a roll call of officers.
Commissioner Uranga,
Here.
Commissioner Lear,
Here.
Commissioner Jimenez, Commissioner Fisher, Vice Chair Zerniak, Chair Acosta.
Present. Item number 2, approval or changes to the agenda. Commissioners?
Chair, just like you stated, we're not going to be hearing item 5B, so if you just want to make it official and withdraw that case from the agenda.
Okay.
Second.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. It's been second. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it. Item number 3, approval of minutes of meeting June 27, 2024.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the meeting of June 27th, 2024.
Chair, just real quick, we don't have meetings we don't have the minutes for June 27th. They'll be submitted at the next hearing.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion? No discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it. Item number 4, old business.
No old business, Chair.
Nothing? Okay. New business. Case number Z24-012. Is the applicant here or the representative? Yes, all right. Yeah.
Good morning. Please state your name and address for the record.
Albert Casillas, 845 North Motel Boulevard.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give today is the truth under penalty of law?
I do.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. For our first case today, we have a zone change request. The owner and the applicant, it's a DLF Equipment LLC. This property is located on 1612 Borderland Road, and it's east of Santa Teresa, New Mexico. So, basically, we'll look at the maps right now, but it's northeast of Sun Park, pretty close to the city limits. The current zoning is a T2 rural zone, and this request is on two parcels. We have a 2.59 acre parcel and a 2 acre parcel, which are currently T2. And the request is to zone to a C2 community commercial zoning district. And this is in order to allow the storage of trucks, utility trailers, RVs, boats, and buses. Here is a location map of the parcel. This is basically Borderland Road right here, Gato Road, and then we'll have Magnut over here on this side. And this is just an aerial from 2018. So we have Borderland Road, that's the entrance to the property. And it's basically two long skinny parcels here. You already have an existing building, and what's not showing on here, it's a mobile home as well. That's on the property. And then we kind of zoom out here. When we look at the zoning map, of course, then we see everything in gray. It's the city of Sun Park, and then the rest of the scenario here, it's county. It's under the jurisdiction of the county. So here's the subject parcel T2, and when we look over here towards the intersection of Borderland and Magnut, then of course we have this pocket here of industrial, commercial. When you drive out there, it's basically the dairies that are there. You have some trucking businesses that are there as well. This lot right here, it's kind of vacant right now. The only building that's there that I saw was just a little building where they sell fireworks container. It's not permanently set. And then just going back a little bit into history, some of the old cases that were approved. This is a subject parcel right here, but to the east, back in '96, there was a non-residential application for this property where they wanted to store their construction equipment. So that was approved in '96. There was a zone change in '99, kind of for the same, almost for the similar thing. A salvage yard here for antique vehicles, and there was a business registration here on both of these parcels here for the selling of fireworks. Just so we can kind of toggle here back and forth. So the construction yard here, I mean, even though it's a T2 zone, it's basically grandfathered in. It's legal non-conforming. What did end up getting that industrial designation was that zone change in '99, and then that salvage yard as well. So just see if you, just bear with me on this description, because I'm basically summarizing what happened, between, when the applicant submitted a building permit and during the time that we were trying to adopt the UDC down in Crua. It almost happened simultaneously. That's why there's a little bit of, I'm going to kind of describe, what the whole process was like. So prior to April 18th, all this property itself was still zoned performance district. And in the performance district, of course, as long as you met the development standards, pretty much any use was allowed. You basically had to come in here, submit a site plan, that was drawn up by a professional engineer. We would send out, we would put signs on the property. I don't even think we were required to send out letters for non-residentials. So you put signs, and if there was no opposition, then as long as you met all those development standards, then then it was approved administratively. So on April 9th, the UDC and official zoning map of Doña County was approved by the Board of County Commissioners for Crua, and it went into effect on May 15th. So basically, on May 15th, it went from performance district to a T2. The T2 zone, like I stated before, it consists of open, settled lands, but it's basically mostly residential by right. So you're allowed to have site-built homes and mobile homes, farmhouses, and agricultural buildings. On the property right now, we do have that 3,000 square foot equipment shed. That's what it was. Water was from a domestic well, and wastewater it's handled by an approved septic tank. Borderland Road is paved. It is county maintained. So we started talking to the applicant a while back, and he did submit a building permit for a tenant improvement and in addition to the existing 3,000 square foot building. So this is back in August of last year. The application went through all the appropriate reviews. Under planning's comments, when we go back and look at them, I think I wrote on there, well, it's the tenant improvement, it's fine, but if it's going to be anything other else than residential, then we might be looking at a non-residential application. And then, while at the same time, we know that we're working on amendment number 5. So as we were getting towards the end of the tenant improvement, then we found out that it's okay. So it's not going to be for just storage or anything like that. That what they really want is to operate a business to store vehicles. But now, we're in the early months of this year, and we're going through the whole CRUA amendment, and we're at a point where, okay, well, if we make this applicant apply for a non-residential, it might not be for anything because things are going to change real quick, and now they're going to have to reapply and come back later for a zone change under the T2 designation. So basically, as soon as the commissioners approved the CRUA amendment number 5, then they submitted for their zone change application, and that was on April 9th. So all these factors, all these things were happening at the same time. We really couldn't take in their application because we knew things were going to change, and if there was an appeal, then that they basically would have to reapply again anyways. So, they held out, they applied for the zone change, and that's why we're here today. Just because everything was happening around the time that we were trying to adopt that amendment number 5. So for their proposal, like I said before, they do want to apply. They applied for a C2, which would allow, what their plans are, which is the storage of trucks, utility trailers, RVs, boats, and buses. On their narrative, they're stating that it is a non-residential, low-intensity zone with little or no impact to the community. They do believe it's going to have a positive effect, creating more jobs, generating more taxes for the county. It's going to benefit residents because truck drivers in the area might need to store their trucks. People currently have to drive to El Paso to look for that storage service. Not a lot of traffic in the area. Environmental pollution is not going to be a problem. Considerable space between their businesses and residential zones, and they wish to comply with the requirements of the county. So this is the site plan that I pulled from their building permit. Basically, it's Borderland Road, and I'll show some pictures right now what the site looks like. But they basically have a long, skinny road accessing their basically what's going to be their office. And here is just kind of like an area of what the what the property looks like. And here we can kind of see, the salvage yard, some storage equipment over here. That's the one that was also approved right here. And this is a daycare center, and I'll show pictures of everything right now. So when we're looking east on Borderland Road, we can see that it is county maintained, it is paved. Right across the street, it's just farmland right now. And this is their entrance to their property. They do have a sign out there, stating that they're going to be renting spaces for rent. And that's basically their entrance right here. And as we're, driving or walking into their property, we see that this is the building that got the tenant improvement. Here we have a mobile home that they got a permit for. That's the building right there, and they basically built a shed over here on this side. And when we're looking back onto a Borderland Road, this is basically their driveway and the areas where they're going to be parking vehicles. And here's just another picture. And then just the entrance and the exit. And these pictures were taken yesterday, just as a point of reference. To the west, you have a property where they're currently using it as farming, and then the next property is going to be the daycare. And then to the east, you have the other area where they're storing basically construction equipment. And then that's just right across the property. And if we're on Borderland, driving back towards McNutt, heading west, and that's another area currently zoned as industrial where they're storing additional construction equipment. And then as we get closer to the intersection, and that's one of the fireworks stands that's there on the corner. So when looking at zone change requirements, we got to look at section 202 of the Unified Development Code and 203. 203D is decisional criteria. Those were the properties that were notified. Really, there was no letters against the request, and actually, Mr. Duran here, he's a neighbor that's right next to it, and he submitted a letter in favor, and that's in your packet. 15 letters were sent out, signs were posted on the property, and the agenda was posted on the website. So when we're looking at a D1, potential number of homes, well, that's not applicable. It's not a residential development. They're going to be storing trucks, utility trailers, RVs, boats, and buses. No impact to population or demographics. Potential traffic flows and impacts, no large impact to traffic flows is anticipated since the main access will be from Borderland Road, which is county maintained. Engineering has already issued a driveway permit for this property, and that was done through the building permit for tenant improvements. The zone change will allow the applicant to operate a facility for the storage of trucks, utility trailers, RVs, boats, and buses. The applicant citing economic benefits and being beneficial to the community and the local economy, as the closest storage facility is in El Paso. Potential water and sewer needs, and that's a typo. It's not from CRUA. They have their own water well, and wastewater will be handled by septic. There is sufficient infrastructure capacity for the proposed use. And I just did a screenshot of Google Maps. I did a search on storage units or anything that involved storage for equipment, and the closest ones are in El Paso. I think this one, this far west storage, is about 4 miles away from the subject parcel. This is about the location of where the subject parcel is at, and that's the closest one, which is about 4 miles away. And that's the Texas-New Mexico border right here. No evidence submitted that there are endangered or rare species of animal and plant life in the area. Impact to surrounding properties, zoning designations in the immediate area is T2. We saw that the city limits of Sun and Park were nearby. Introducing a storage facility use will have minimal impacts in the area. Of course, if approved, we'll have buffer landscaping and any applicable fire, life, and safety requirements will have to be met. Which, like I mentioned before, they did submit the building permit. They're basically waiting on the outcome of the zone change request to see how we're going to be signing off on this, whether it's going to be for residential or a commercial occupancy. And then, of course, applicant will have to meet all of the best management practices. So we do believe that the applicant meets decisional criteria of D1. We also believe that it's not in conflict with the comprehensive plan. It's meeting goals such as G2.2, which is ensure regulations supporting the plan requirements, supporting regional small-scale businesses, including ag, and encouraging manufacturing and other industry to locate within the county, appropriately buffered from communities. G610, keeping money from leaking out of the county, plug the leaks in sales and services, and protecting and enhancing the county market for goods and services. So we believe that it's not in conflict with the comp plan. When we look at Miller, change of conditions, I basically just went down on the history of why we're here for a zone change request. It's basically, this property was in Kura. Now that the UDC has authority down there, then, they have to come back in here and apply for a zone change. Basically, a non-residential application under Kura would have been approved administratively if there were no opposition and if they met all of the development standards. I think I've already kind of gone over this. So, after we went through all of that, of course, once the BOCC approved the UDC down there, then they submitted their application. We don't believe that the zone change is going to be a spot zone. There are other non-residential uses along Borderland Road. I mean, we saw the aerials, we saw the pictures. So to the west, there are those properties that are zone industrial. Uses include a mechanic shop, a salvage yard. The two properties combined are almost, a little bit more than 4.5 acres. And it's going to benefit the community by allowing a storage facility for trucks, utility trailers, RVs, boats, and buses, and an agricultural and residential area. The applicant submitted for the zone change to obtain the C2 community commercial, which would allow his proposed, storage facility. But it's also going to allow, those other uses that are allowed under C2. And then just keep in mind, this use would also be allowed in the T2 with the approval of a special use permit. So it could be done either way, through the zone change, which does allow the use, but just keep in mind it also allows all those other uses under C2, or through the approval of a special use permit, which caps them at that specific use only. So I just, wanted to mention that. When we look at the land use matrix under industrial and the use categories that are allowed under, we have this one here that talks about construction yard and equipment, related sales, services, storage, and distribution facilities, and semi-truck parking. And then we got the mini storage unit down here, which when we compare them to, what's allowed with the special use permit and what's allowed, or what's, permitted by right, it's basically the same thing. The only difference is that you can have a contractor's yard on a T3 as well with a special use permit and not mini storage units. I'm highlighting mini storage units because, historically, whenever somebody applies for a mini storage unit, we also allow for the storage of boats and RVs on there. So they're pretty much they're similar uses that are allowed under the similar or the same zoning designations. So for our findings, it's outside of any incorporated municipal zoning authority within the county, so we do have the jurisdiction to review this case. It is consistent with the requirements of the UDC for general notice requirements. This request to a C2 does satisfy the decisional criteria for a zone change. It is appropriate and reasonably necessary to protect the public interest, and there is a sufficient change in conditions as the implementation of the UDC in the Kura ATC area required a zone change application. We don't believe the request would be considered a spot zone, and we don't believe that is in conflict with the comprehensive plan or other adopted or approved county plans or amendments. I did modify my original recommendation a little bit. I am going to recommend a conditional approval for the zone change. And basically, the condition is that they do provide a buffer to Mr. Duran's property, which was a property immediately to the east. Our code doesn't really require a buffer for vacant or ag property that's adjacent to the subject parcel. It's only to something that's already been developed, and in this case, Mr. Duran's property is the only one. Let me see if I can go back to one of the aerials. So that's vacant, and Mr. Duran's the only one that has a residential home on it. So just to make clear what that condition is, I'm just requesting a buffer right here along Mr. Duran's property.
Mr. Chair, can I ask him a quick question? That property you just identified, is that the same individual who wrote the letter in favor of this?
That's correct.
Okay.
How much is that buffer? You said a buffer, but what is the buffer?
It's a type 3, so basically they have to have a solid fence or wall.
Okay,
So it's just to protect the views.
okay.
But commissioners, that's the end of my presentation. We do stand for questions, and the applicant's here as well.
Albert, why did you decide to go with C2 rather than the special use
You
permit?
know, that's what was submitted. And I really struggled with that too. I know the decisional criteria, it's harder to meet when it's a zone change rather than a special use permit. But that's what was submitted. And I will admit there was probably a little bit of confusion, because we're going through the whole amendment thing, in the beginning, and we were just trying to, get them going, so we can finalize the whole process. There's been precedent before on when an applicant has submitted for a zone change and the Planning and Zoning Commission has opted to, instead of granting him a zone change, they've granted him a approval of a special use permit just for that specific use. And the last one that comes to mind is up in Berino on Highway 478. We had an application that Luis Armolejo processed, and it was the guys who wanted to do solar. It was a contractor yard for a solar facility. And this commission felt that the C2 designation was probably not the best option for that parcel. So they gave them a special use permit for that use. And now, that doesn't really matter because now Dollar General went in there, they came in here and got approval for a zone change to C2 anyways. But it has happened before.
So when the C2 is, if it's approved, does that take off the ag assessment on the parcel?
It's as soon as the building permit is approved on there, it does.
Okay.
Because you can have property that's zoned commercial, but if it's ag, you're still going to be assessed as ag. It's once those buildings start going in there.
Okay.
Any further questions of staff, commissioners?
I have a question.
Mel?
What if
Mel?
it's not, they don't do the buildings and just you give them the special use permit? Would that still fall under commercial assessment?
Yes, the assessment's going to be based on what's there and how the buildings are classified. So once we sign off on the building permit, if they have an ag assessment right now, then as soon as that building permit's approved, the assessor's office, they get notified and then they have to go out there and, do their assessments of structures and give it a new classification.
Thank you.
Any further questions? No? Okay, thank you, Albert. And we have a procedure as how we follow. If you're going to be in favor or in opposition to this case, did you already sign in?
Yes, sir, I have not. I just arrived and the property is not being mentioned in this.
Okay, what I'd like for you to do is get your name for the record, and then we'll first, and then we're going to go through the other proceeding. But please proceed over and get your names signed in. Thank you. Um, Is that the end of your presentation?
Yes, sir.
Or, okay, thank you, Albert. The applicant's here. Espérese un momento, ahorita seguimos con la junta. And Albert, I'll ask this question a little bit further, but on the storage of these over-the-road trailers, is there any compliance on hazmat storage or anything like that in there?
You know, Chair, I can double check with NMED as well. You know, they had comments on just on septic stuff, but I can double check with them to see if there's going to be any other additional requirements or conditions. You know, depending on the outcome of this case, just to cover ourselves, you know, the commission can, you know, just make a recommendation just to make sure that they follow all of NMED standards as well.
And is that a question to follow up for the fire marshal on record?
If he's here, yeah, I
We'll
don't
ask
see why
him to
not.
come forward here after a while. Okay.
How far is the daycare center from the property?
Well, can we get the PowerPoint back? So we have, that's the building. We have a vacant lot right here, and then that's the acre right here.
Do we know approximately how far that is?
It's gonna be a couple hundred feet. It's pretty close. My apologies, it's actually this one right here. That's just the residence, and that's the daycare. Por favor, diga su nombre y su dirección.
Sí, ¿qué tal? Buenos días. A cada uno de ustedes como jueces, nuestro...
We have to swear them in.
Okay, so you can translate. Please state your name and address for the record.
Por favor, que diga su nombre y su dirección.
Sandra Sánchez, 1612 Borderland Road.
Buenos días, David Levin, 1612 Borderland Road, Antonio, Nuevo México.
Y que
Please raise your, so there's more. Please raise your right hand. Do you affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth under penalty of law?
Okay. Bienvenidos. Muchas gracias.
Gracias.
Dirija sus preguntas y yo le digo cuando se detiene y lo traduzco.
Pero en español, ¿está bien?
Está bien, sí.
Buenos días a cada uno de ustedes como jueces.
Good morning to all of you.
Me complace estar aquí enfrente de ustedes. Es un orgullo para mí estar enfrente de ustedes.
It's a pleasure for me and an honor to be here before you.
Y solo quiero comentarles que estamos dispuestos a adherirnos a las decisiones
I am pleased to let you know that we are ready and willing to abide by your decision
para avalar todo lo que el licenciado ha comentado.
and to validate everything that the young man has commented on.
Por mi parte es todo. Gracias.
On behalf of myself, I thank you.
And this is for the translator. What is their last name again?
Mora.
Mora. Okay. Commissioners, any questions of the petitioner, Mr. and Mrs. Mora? No? Commissioner Arango, nothing?
I just had a question. When you purchased the property, was it an intention to just build, just live on the property, or you already had the plan to also have a business there?
Cuando yo compré, se lo compré a la vecina, la que tiene la guardería ahorita. Ella me dijo, es comercial.
When I first purchased it, I purchased it from my neighbor who has the daycare, and she indicated to me, le indicó que era comercial, that it was commercially zoned.
Me dijo que podía, por eso estaba muy caro el terreno, que podía construir y podía tener un negocio. Y de un principio,
She indicated to me that that's why the cost was rather high, because I could construct and have a business.
y como yo manejaba la construcción y la maquinaria en México, yo tenía pensado algún día hacer algo parecido aquí en Estados Unidos.
And since in Mexico, I was already doing construction and managed large equipment, I figured that at some point in the future, I would probably go into business.
Okay, muchas gracias.
Okay. Muchísimas gracias. Well, I guess, you have any other questions? Another question? All right. All right. All those that were in favor or opposed to this case, did you two folks signed in? All right. I am going to open it up. Who wants to go first? You want to go first? Yes, sir. All right. Please state your name for the record.
Thank you for letting me speak.
Good
Before you
morning.
do that, we need to swear you in.
My name is Ernest Connor.
She's going to swear you in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give today is the truth under penalty of law?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And your last name, please?
Good morning. My name is Ernest Connor.
Okay, thank you.
If we're looking at the map here of the aerial view, just to the left, which is approximately 2.92 acres, just shy of 3 acres.
Please step forward to the mic. We can't hear you.
I'm sorry. Yes. So if you look at the property here, I would be, my wife and I, Anna, this seated behind me, are property number 8. It's approximately 2.92 acres, just shy of 3 acres. I'm retired military. I served 41 years in the Army. I just retired this past December. Our original intent for buying this property was to build a house there. We bought the property from our neighbor just to the east of us, which is Bowling. our easement coming in, or our driveway would be at the end of Bowling Farm Road. So we would come in through Bowling Farm Road or either trace the other road there behind us. I know that this property that is asking for rezoning was purchased from Ricky Ramos, which is my neighbor, because he farmed with me. We've been farming his property since we bought it. The first thing we did is got it lasered and started farming it. Our original intent was that we were going to move after I got out of the military to New Mexico from Texas and build a house there and live there with my daughter and son. Fast forward, the irrigation rights hampered our farming abilities there, so we haven't been able to farm anything. So we just go over there and get the berms up and clean everything up. Ricky Ramos has been doing that for us, which sold the property just to the west of us, which is under question for rezoning. I am a maintenance guy out of the military. I grew up on a farm all my life, hundreds of acres of tobacco. I know about farming. I know a lot about diesel trucks. I know a lot about RVs. I know a lot about storage. I know about maintenance and maintaining those. What he's asking to do has changed my family's plans completely. We would never build a house there now. We could not do that. It's surrounded by, as you already have been told, a commercial business, which cranes and everything in the area. This business that is already operating as renting out cranes and utility things, storage for trucks, RVs and boats and all. All those items are pulled by diesel trucks, big diesel trucks. Diesel trucks are noisy. Most diesel trucks coming out of Mexico are not compliant with EPA or regulations. Diesel trucks have to be drained so often. Filters have to be changed. Any place where diesel trucks are parked, military-wise, in my 41 years, or anywhere where my dad drove diesel trucks all his life and worked on diesel trucks all his life, and we did maintenance all our life off of a farm, there's going to be contamination. There's going to be pollution, diesel in the air. There's going to be diesel fuel in the ground, which is going to affect the table water there, which is probably the most sacred thing in New Mexico is the table water. And I know there has not been any environmental studies done on this, which I've done a lot over my time in the military at McGregor Range and White Sands and all over the place because we do missile defense. So I know that is not going to be a good place to build a home any longer, right beside that area. So my wife and I are just coming now, and we want to know, they're asking for a zoning change. Right now, I'm zoned as farm, and so can I confirm that my zoning would not change? Because I have to figure out what am I going to do with this property now. I can either wait until we start getting more irrigation right and start farming, which I love to do. I do that right now where I'm at on less than an acre, but I'm not going to be able to build there. So do I want to farm this land all my life with no intent of ever having to build there? And it kind of takes that goal or our dream away from us. So driving up here today from El Paso, my wife and I contemplated on what are our options. Our options are to develop just like he is and ask for a C4, let this just continue and come in and say, okay, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to come in and develop on this beautiful land with this beautiful table water under us and cement it in, asphalt it in, and pay good taxes to New Mexico, because as a graduate level business manager and several businesses I've done over the years, this is a great plan for New Mexico. It's not going to generate a lot of taxes because 2 employees can run this whole place. So it's not going to generate it, but it would generate revenue through taxes, through sales of renting spaces out and stuff like that. So I'm up in the air. I don't want to say I'm against it because I like growth, but now I'm stuck with almost 3 acres of land that I got to figure out, what am I going to do with this? You know, I can't, current situation with irrigation, I can't farm it. And depending upon what this board decides to do, I'm not going to stand up and wave a flag. I don't want to. This business is up and running and operating already. This guy, Duran, that wrote a letter, that's a neighbor in front of me, If you go to that place, that looks like a junkyard. There is stuff stored on that property stacked up higher than the trailers sitting on there all the way around it on the backside adjacent to my property. That's unbelievable. That's to me, that's commercial. That's not residential anymore. I think I would encourage your team here or some of your colleagues, whoever you got runners to send out, go out and look at the area. Drive down to Bowling Farm Road and drive up on my property and look around there and see what's going on, because it's right on the edge of the county there, right on the edge of where you guys are trying to keep ordinances in place and everything. And there's a kind of a shady stuff going on there, in my opinion, and needs to be looked at. And then I honor whatever decision you guys make. It's a really big slap in my face and my wife's face, and I don't know much we can do about it. We can hire an attorney and throw money at it, but I've done that. That's the reason I bought this property, because we thought our property was going to get taken out of El Paso about 15 years ago, and we were going to have to be moved. And now the place where we're going to plan to build to now is gone, and it's like, come on. So anyway, my two questions was basically, my zoning should not be affected. My taxes should not change. Is that correct? Or can you answer that?
That's not our decision. That's up to the county assessor.
But Chair, just to kind of chip in on that one, on that question, if your property is vacant, those taxes are not going to change. They only change once you put something on that property and you increase, the property value. That's when they'll go up. It's still something physically goes on the property.
Right. Now, just in closing then, I would just say that I'm really not sure. I thought I understood how businesses work and governments work, and I'm finding out that I'm learning more. This business, like I said, is up and operational already. They're renting out equipment, they're renting out spaces, and they're asking for a zoning permit for things they're already doing. We got this letter just a few weeks ago, coming back from a vacation. And this is the first we heard about it. I saw the building going up. I thought there was maybe some farm things going on and all that, but I had no idea that this whole area is going commercial. That's what it looks like. Best of luck, guys. Thank you for hearing me out. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Connor, the property just below you, number 13, staff has recommended a buffer zone for property 13. Would you accept a buffer zone for your property, number 8?
No, I'm not giving up any of my property. If he wants a buffer, he's got more property than I have. He needs to put his buffer on his side. I would not do, why would somebody ask for a buffer on my property?
No,
You
no,
want a
I-
buffer,
no,
you need to
don't-
put it on your
no,
property.
no. Go ahead, Teresa.
No, the question, sir, is they are willing to comply with a buffer zone, which is putting up a fence or something to isolate themselves from that. They're not asking for any of your property.
Oh,
Okay, what I'm asking you is that if the company is willing to do the same for yours, is that acceptable? It would give you some privacy.
So I'm assuming, do they have the plans for it yet? I mean, I've done a lot of building at McGregor Range and Fort Bliss and expansion and all that, so I have a lot of engineering experience in this. What is your plan? Is it a chain link, 8 fence, 8 foot wide with 3 strands of barbed wire on the top, or what's the plan for your buffer?
Chair, they don't have a plan yet, but we do have the requirements of what a buffer type 3 would entail. And a buffer type 3, it's basically the highest type of buffer that you can have, which is basically either a solid wall or solid fence. And they do have to put trees, at a certain distance between them to block that view. So there are requirements that would guide them on developing an appropriate buffer for this request.
Okay, and then I would just note, and as you all know, that valley is shifting all the time. So if there was a buffer, even a chain link fence or a wall, whatever, you're going to have to excavate probably about a good 3 to 6 feet down and then fill it in to get a good solid foundation before you can put anything up there. Otherwise, whatever you put up in less than a few years is going to be just all over the place because this is irrigation land. I've been living in this area here for a long time, off and on, the last 20-some years, farming all in this area. And I've watched fences put up and I watched walls go up and they crumble because, like I said, I continue to farm as much as I can and until I have to make a decision, either sell it or develop myself. And I really don't want to go into business just after finishing 41 years of U.S. Army time.
All right, Mr. Connor, thank you.
Thank you very much.
For your comments.
Good morning.
Good morning. Anna Connor.
We're going to swear, huh?
Please raise your right hand. Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth under penalty of law?
Yes.
Thank you.
And please step forward to the mic so we can hear you.
Okay. Good morning. So I can clarify between our property 8 and the property you're considering rezoning, there is an irrigation canal. So there is no doubt that if a solid buffer is built, it will eventually crumble. Greenery, trees, that's a different story with root systems. But just to say, my husband and I did purchase this property with the hopes and the dreams of one day building a home for ourselves. What we have seen go up around it has discouraged us. Now we're forced to change our minds on our future plans. And like I said, I'm not sure how business practices work, but to me, operating out of a facility without rezoning first is a #1 red flag. Number 2, we purchased the property knowing that it was agricultural farmland with the possibility of building on it like our neighbors, the Bowlings and all the other neighbors who have put up beautiful homes in the area. I would understand if you go to purchase a property, title companies, they do the research to see what kind of property you're purchasing so you're aware. Is this commercial property? Is this residential property? That's my opinion. You're not going to go buy a home somewhere and not do title searches or searches of what it is you are purchasing. I would just like to say, like my husband stated, if you have time, send somebody, go look at the area. And another concern of mine also, the hazardous materials, and you have a daycare already in the area. So toxic fumes, table water, all those are issues. Seepage. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Ms. Connor, any questions of Mrs. Connor? No, thank you very much. Okay. Anybody else in favor or opposed to this case? Okay, I'm going to close it to the gallery now. Commissioners, I had a question of Fire Marshal. Is he still here? Oh, there you are. There was a commissioner, Miss.
Well, let him get sworn in.
Sure, go ahead.
Good morning. Please state your name and address for the record.
Arturo Herrera, 845 North Mota Boulevard.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give today is the truth under penalty of law?
Yes.
Thank you.
There was no mention on these over-the-road trailers. How is it that, and there was no comments, how are we going to be able to make sure that the loads on these trailers, are they going to be empty or loaded? And the next question is, how can we check to see there's no hazmat material in those trailers?
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, As far as hazmat, there will be no hazardous materials allowed on the property. The fire doesn't do yearly inspections of the facility of any commercial business. So we would do yearly inspections of the facility. Now, if the trailers have any type of locks, we will not be able to cut them, but we would make sure that they're labeled if they do have some kind of hazardous materials, which would not be allowed on the property.
Okay. The other question I have is is there going to be any refueling of equipment there? Diesel fuel, gasoline, whatever?
That I'm not sure. That's a question probably for the applicant. Again, fueling, we have not seen anything on any fueling. Again, the zoning is the only thing that we're looking at to be approved. Once they start submitting plans for their business, they would have to comply with all fire code requirements.
And I'm speaking also not because of tractors, over road tractors, but maybe the reefers that would be there idling for who knows how long. So they would have to be refueled.
Correct.
So these are the conditions I think that we should look at.
Correct. Again, we don't know exactly what they're doing other than storage. The only thing that we got was a zoning review. So right now, the zoning is the only thing we're looking at. Again, there's going to be other requirements based on what they're going to have on the storage area. And our comments will provide that as well once we submit those.
But we can impose that as a condition.
Correct.
Right. Okay, well, any questions of Fire Marshal?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mel, let's get Sean up here.
What's that?
Sean?
Sean, do you have any comments?
No,
And we need to swear you in also, okay?
Good morning. Please state your name and address for the record.
Sean Vick, 845 North Motel Boulevard.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give today is the truth under penalty of law?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Chair, Commissioners.
so what's the status of this property?
Currently, it's on hold. So there was the original building that you do see on the aerial. I want to say it was built 4 or 5 years ago. It's an accessory structure for the agricultural portion. Then they came in and submitted some revisions for a restroom and to sell some farm equipment or supplies out of the main portion with a little office. So that's when we placed it on hold and started this whole process with the rezoning or with the SUP if you decide to go forward. They didn't state that we're gonna have some farm equipment out there. I was unaware of the tractor trailers. I thought they were just gonna be selling bits and pieces of, tilling machines, hay balers or such. If they're having semis, I don't know about the reefers. I know that's one of your questions. I don't really know if that's their business. I just think it's more farm implementation equipment in that aspect. So that's where we're at right now. Like Captain Herrera said, if the zoning does go through and we do look at the building aspect of it, the building's small enough, it won't have to be sprinkled. One of the requirements would have to be fire flow, some of our comments. Secondary access will be one that the fire marshal and I will look at as well for the fire code. So there's a lot to still go into this proceeding if you guys do allow the zone change.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, so I just wanted to make sure that they're not out of compliance, they haven't done anything illegal.
Well, if they are operating right now, then they are out of compliance, basically. I think that's the reason they're here, is they're trying to come into compliance, is what started all of this. Once we realized the restroom, the office that was going in, we started delving in a little bit further is why we're here.
John, you've been to the property, correct?
Not recently, ma'am, I've driven by. The last time I was there, I want to say 4 or 5 years ago, but don't hold me when I did final the building. And it was just a metal shell building is all that it was, just a Mueller building.
Did you notice where the irrigation canal is located? Is it on their property or on the adjacent properties?
I didn't notice, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Sean.
You're welcome. Thank you, Commissioners.
Okay, I'm going to close it to the gallery. Any discussion, Commissioners?
I want to ask staff, Albert, so after hearing all this, do you still think the zone change is the most appropriate versus a special? I mean, with it, if we change the zoning to C2, one thing we've done is we've created it's not, you said it wasn't spot zoning. I'm still not sure about that, but it seems like a special use permit might be a better way to go on this parcel. It keeps the T2 intact. And it also allows us to put restrictions on it. We could even put a time restriction on it if we wanted to.
That's correct. If a special use permit is granted, the underlying zone still stays the same. The SUP will only be for this specific use, which is the storage of vehicles. And any conditions can be imposed for the SUP and the zone change itself, so.
So is there any plan to do repair on this property of vehicles?
I can let the applicant answer that, but as far as the application goes, that was not the case. And also that can be a condition if the P&Z desires to add that in there, that the use is only going to be strictly for storage purposes and not for any kind of mechanical work or on large vehicles.
Yeah, because one of the problems I think that we have in the county is sort of this creeping use. It starts out as one thing and ends up something else. So, Mel, are you okay if we ask the applicant to come back up and address that
sure.
question?
Señor Mora. Por favor. Es que el comisionado Zernick le va a preguntar preguntas. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So my question was, do they have any plans to do repair or refueling of vehicles on the property?
Sí, de hecho ya sabemos que tenemos que hacer una rampa para los inválidos, donde se estaciona y donde es.
Repita lo que me dijo otra vez.
Ya sabemos que tenemos que hacer reparaciones, tenemos que hacer un estacionamiento de inválidos.
Yes, as a matter of fact, we are aware of the fact that we're going to have to create an area to, like a plank or a decline thing so that they can work. ¿Y es para trabajar en los vehículos?
No,
¿Para qué va a ser?
para cuando llegan conmigo en la oficina o algo.
Oh, that's just an area for when they arrive there to check into the office.
So my question is, they have no plans to do repair or refueling?
Es que no va a haber ningún tipo de manejamiento o de llenar gasolina, de ponerle gasolina.
No, para nada.
Nada de trabajo
Mire, señor Mora.
Es lo que más cuido.
No.
Señor Mora, dispense. I'll translate this one. Es que tenemos problema con las norias que existen ahí enseguida de su propiedad, ¿verdad? Entonces lo que queremos saber nosotros es que si va a haber contaminación con materiales, reparaciones. No va a ser nada de eso.
Nada de eso. Yo cuido mucho que no caiga aceite, que nadie entra, que gotea algo, nada, todo eso lo cuido mucho.
Y la otra viene siendo, ¿quién va a estar encargado de materiales que no deben estar ahí en los camiones, verdad?
Yo me encargo de eso siempre.
¿Usted se encarga de eso?
Sí, porque de hecho ya pusimos una casa donde queremos vivir en un par de meses.
Okay.
Y ahí yo estoy pendiente día y noche siempre ahí.
Okay, Mr. Mora has stated that there will be no repairs of any vehicles or any type of equipment there, and there's going to be no transfer of fuel por los combustibles, ¿verdad?
Sin nada de combustible.
Okay, and no transfer of fuels in that property. And I asked him the reason why, and I told him the reason why was because there's a lot of existing water wells there, and we don't want to have any water contamination. So he understands that. And he said that he was also going to be responsible to make sure that there was no hazmat materials in those trailers. ¿Está bien?
Sí. De hecho, yo quiero hacer un comentario. Mi negocio es vender y comprar maquinaria. pero si los trailers no les gustaría que fueran, yo lo metí aparte, pero yo lo puedo sacar, eso no es problema.
And he's stating now that his main emphasis was to repair trailers or buy trailers or equipment and resell it. Okay. Muchísimas gracias.
Gracias.
All right, thank you. All right, any other questions of, all right.
I would still like to know where the irrigation canal is, if anybody can answer.
Well, excuse me, Mr. Connor? Yes. Albert?
I mean, the applicant knows where that canal is, and I already have the aerial up here, so he can just point to us where
All
it's
right,
located
Mr.
here.
Connor, please step forward.
No, we got the mouse right here, so we can use that.
Okay, great.
So I'm thinking it's probably gonna be right there, but.
Okay, so the irrigation canal, I'm gonna show you where the mouse is right now.
Get closer to the microphone, Mr. Connor.
I'm sorry. I know I'm a little loud in the military, but maybe not anymore. So the irrigation canal, the main is going to come for where the mouse is right there. And it's going to follow this area right here. As you see the growth in the trees and stuff. Now it goes here and it goes this way. And then it continues straight along my property line and the property line up to this home right here. So this home would continue to get irrigation from this canal right here. And I would continue to get irrigation coming into my property along this back canal. So the water comes into my canal back here in this area. This is my area right here. And then this is the irrigation canal that runs straight up to this other property there. Can you come and fix that?
So, Mr. Connor,
Yes.
the irrigation canal is on your property.
The irrigation canal, I did a survey on this land and had it surveyed. So yes, the irrigation canal is on my property line. So I believe there's already a fence up, if I'm not mistaken, between my property line and this other property, if I'm not mistaken. I may be mistaken, but I think it's already up.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. Okay, commissioners, any discussion?
Seems to me that the special use permit is more appropriate.
That's what I'm thinking also.
Albert, before we proceed, can you go back to the zoning page that you had?
I mean, once you make a zone change, it's locked in. Special use permit gives us some flexibility in terms of time and being able to hold a property owner accountable. I mean, the zone change is a zone change. And it also maintains that T2 in place. I'm worried about that, of changing those to use zones.
So would we have to amend that, Albert, as far as the special use permit, or we can just vote on that?
I think it'll have to be a motion,
A motion?
and the language would be somewhere along the lines of, when it comes to Z24012, we're not gonna go that route, but we're approving a special use permit.
So well, let me ask you a question. Do we have to vote on the zone change first and then do from the planning commission, make a recommendation to do a special use permit?
If I recall a little bit on how the other order was done for that other case I was talking about, I think it was a motion to deny the zone change. However, granting the applicant the special use permit to operate, and then going from there with any conditions that are necessary.
And on a special use permit, I mean, does that transfer in perpetuity? Is there a time limit on?
Well, there's a couple of things, and there's a couple of possibilities. One, the P&Z issues some kind of a time restriction on it, where the applicant has to come back and, reapply again for a special use permit. Second, if a special use permit is approved, and it's discontinued for more than a year, then, then that's the end of the special use permit. If it's approved, and if the same use is still on site and a new buyer comes in, it still stays on the property. So it doesn't end with the change of ownership.
So run that by us again. On the special use permit, if nothing is done, it'll expire. It has an expiration date, right?
Of 1 year. If nothing's done in 1 year, or if the business discontinues for more than 1 year, then the special use permit ends. With the approval of a special use permit today, the condition, you guys can apply any conditions that you guys feel necessary, including a time frame on it.
And so when we bring it up to a vote, Commissioner Zerniak stated or asked, if we were to deny the zone change, right, the only option for the petitioner would be a special use permit.
It would be a special use permit that could be granted today by this commission.
I'm confused. If we authorize a special use permit today, he would have to use it within a year, is that correct? He would have to establish something within a year, and the business would have to be operating, I guess, for a year.
Continuously, yes.
It continues, or suppose he sells the property, it is still valid for the sale of the property,
Yes,
with the sale of the property.
that's correct.
Thank you, Albert. I already closed that to the gallery. Did you sign in for or against this case? You that raised, yeah, no? Okay, thank you very much. Yes. Pásale, por favor, señora.
Ok. Yo quiero invitarles a cada uno de ustedes, si tienen la oportunidad,
I would like to invite each and every one of you, if you have the opportunity,
que vayan a nuestro negocio
to visit our business,
y ustedes mismos por sus propios ojos miren que nosotros no estamos arreglando maquinarias ahí,
so that you can witness by your own eyes that we are not repairing any machinery there at all,
que no tenemos nada de químicos en lo absoluto.
there are absolutely no chemicals there.
Así que siento yo que es un lugar donde nosotros podemos estar bien y siento que no podemos estar dañando.
I feel that it's a place that we can be safe and that we will not be hurting anything.
No estamos dañando en lo absoluto a lo que está alrededor de nosotros.
We're not damaging anything around it.
Sí es verdad que hay un canal
Yes, it's true that there is an irrigation canal,
al cual ese canal está sumamente sucio,
which is extremely dirty,
que no tiene la capacidad para poder hacer una limpieza.
that it doesn't have the capacity of even being cleaned.
Entonces, si estamos hablando efectivamente que ese canal no sirve,
Actually, we're declaring that, I'm declaring that that canal is of no use.
debo de darle mantenimiento para que no haya tanta basura por si se vienen unas lluvias fuertes.
I feel that it should be maintained in some way in case there are strong rains that come by.
Nosotros estamos dispuestos, Mela Costa y todos los demás, a hacer lo que ustedes consideren, lo que ustedes nos digan.
But we are willing to take into consideration anything that you advise us.
Eso es lo que quiero comentar. Gracias.
Gracias.
That was my comment.
Okay. Commissioner Zerniak.
Mel, Albert, does the applicant understand the difference between the zone change and the special use permit? And why we're I want to make sure that that they understand why we're looking at this special use permit rather than the zone change.
Chair, yes, yesterday I spoke to the property owner and explained to him, what our recommendation was and what the difference was between the zone change, which would allow him, all these other uses allowed under the C2 designation, and what a special use permit entails, which basically just limits him to what's being proposed today. So the applicant understands the difference between getting approval for a zone change or getting approval for a special use permit.
And he fully understands the two subjects that matter, the zone change and a special use permit.
Yes, and then, just what the applicant previously stated right now, they're also open to any conditions that the P&Z imposes on them. So they do have an understanding of what's at stake right now.
Because I want to make sure that he understands the parameters of what he can and cannot do. And so that's the reason why we were asking you that.
The applicant's fully aware. And then just one recommendation, if there is a motion, I believe, let's just try to keep it under one motion and not several motions. So if we can figure that out on how to, not approve a zone change, but grant them a special use permit. If we can do it under one motion, I think that's what we've done in the past. So I'll let the commission kind of wordsmith that.
Okay.
Yeah, good. Let me try this, Mel. Okay? I'm going to make a motion.
Okay, before you make the motion, do the commissioners understand the special use permit? And you understand the zone change? Commissioner Udanga?
Yes, I do.
All right, okay, go ahead.
So, wait a minute. Okay, so the motion is I'm going to move to deny the zone change for case number Z24-012 and to move to approve a special use permit with the following conditions. Add an opaque buffer in accordance with the UDC and to not allow any repair or refueling of vehicles on the property.
And
go ahead, Mel.
Checking on compliance.
Okay. So are you with me so far? So Commissioner, the chair has asked me to add within 1 year of approval to check on compliance with these conditions.
Yes, okay. Does everybody understand the motion? But anyway, let's do a vote. We're going to vote on the zone change, right?
So I don't want to, so we're telling the zoning official to check on compliance with the conditions within a year. If they go out and they say everything's fine, then the special use permit keeps on going, right? Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Chair, and then just to clarify, you did mention buffer. We just wanted to clarify that it's buffer type 3, And it's also including the property of Mr. and Mrs. Connor.
That's fine. Yep, yep.
Okay,
So
well, we have a motion on the floor.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor, it's been second. Does everybody understand that motion? Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner,
This is
Wood-
on the zone change.
are we okay? Are you okay? And so let's just be sure, so you added the verbiage that it was a buffer type 3, right? And what else did you say?
A buffer type 3 that includes property number 13, which is Mr. Ramos, and property number 8, which is Mr. and Mrs. Connor's property. Also, it's going to be a type 3 buffer, and there's no repair or refueling of any vehicles on the property. And then there, or,
Right.
and then there's a 1 year, after 1 year, staff's going to go out there, make sure that they're in
Check on
compliance.
compliance. Okay, okay.
Okay,
and just to be clear, it's one vote in total, correct?
right,
Thank you.
okay.
Commissioner Uranga,
Yes.
Commissioner Lear,
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher,
Yes.
Vice Chair Zerniak,
Yes,
Chair Acosta.
Yes, and for the translator, does Mr. and Mrs. Mora know exactly what we voted on? Okay, all right. Thank you. Item number 6, administrative approvals. Janine?
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. So the map before you shows the administrative approvals for the building permits that we issued for the month of June. There were 9 single-family residential permits issued that are depicted in yellow, and there were 2 new commercial building permits that were issued. The one in the Chaparral area is for a dental clinic, and the one in the Santa Teresa area is an expansion to the Valley Storage cold storage. In addition to what is not depicted on the map, we had 8 additions to residential single-family permits, and there were 5 additions to commercial buildings. And then we also issued a total of 16 mobile home installation permits. And then we brought in a grand total of almost $113,000 in permit fees.
Okay.
Any questions?
No, thank you, Janine.
Okay, thank you.
Item number 7, yeah.
Okay, and then we tentatively have the director of the Water Resource Institute, Dr. Sam Fernald, scheduled on August 22nd to make a presentation on water issues in Doña County. Now, that'll be a month from today, and we tentatively have 1 case scheduled at that meeting. So I'll ask him to come around 9:30 or 10 after the hearing. Will that be okay?
We're going to meet here.
Yes. Regular meeting. Mhm.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay.
That sounds great. Thank you for doing that for
Okay,
us.
you're welcome.
Thank you, Janine.
Janine.
Commission input? No? All right. Item number 9, adjournment.
The mayor.
I couldn't hear. I don't know.
There is an open seat on the Planning and Zoning Commission due to the resignation of Commissioner Underwood. We will be hopefully filling that by the end of August. It'll go before the Board of County Commissioners at a public hearing for that. Okay. And then also constituent services asked me to let you know about a comprehensive safety action plan that the county is undergoing. We are asking for your input. There is a dedicated interactive map that is located on the website for you to identify what you feel are unsafe roads and conditions in the county. So all the information is here. So if you could, let your neighbors know, everybody know, we need to identify unsafe roads and conditions in the county through this special study.
All right,
Okay?
thank you. Okay, the chair entertains a motion for adjournment.
Thank you.
Commissioners,
I'll move for adjournment.
okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? The ayes have it.